That's right.
Yeah, we got Jaegers down there. And
All right, folks, let's crank this thing up. It's 10 o'clock. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll?
Senator Bailey. Representative Bricken. Senator Campbell. Here. Representative Darby. Representative Dixie. Senator Gardenhire.
Here.
Representative Hicks of Claiborne. Representative Hicks of Washington. Here. Representative Howell. Here. Representative Littleton. Here. Senator Rose.
Here.
Representative Shaw. Senator Sutherland. Senator Watts. Senator Watson. Senator Yeager. Senator Yarbrough. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here on a nice day in the summer. Let's go to the consent calendar. Any questions or comments on the consent calendar? I see none. Are we ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays. Ayes have it. We'll go to the agency term contracts. Any comments or questions on the agency term contracts? I see none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Thank you. I'll turn the gavel over to Chairman Howell, and he will start with our contracts today. Chairman Howell, it's all yours.
thank you, Chairman Gardenhire. Members, we are having a little issue with our microphones here. They're not on freestyle yet, so we've asked Daniel to come in and look at it. So temporarily fixed, I will try to punch the mics on and off up here on this board. But we'll get Daniel in here. Moving on, looking at our contracts, we'll ask Revenue to come forward. They're contract number 1, and if the Department of Labor and Workforce Development will take their place at the other table, we'll just move right through these as quickly as possible. Revenue, you are recognized. Let's see if I can, there you go.
It's on, lights on.
All right, thank you, Chairman and Committee. I'm Logan Hess. I'm the Legislative Director for the Department of Revenue. With me, I have Greer Allison, our TR3 Director, and Matilda Carpet, our Budget Director. Before you today, we have a new 3-year contract with FAST Enterprises. And what FAST does is they provide technology, maintenance, and software for the department's tax collection software system. As I said, this is a new 3-year contract with a liability of $30.6 million with the possibility of 2 option years. I will happily answer any questions.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Representative Bricken. Let's see if I can find you here. 16. Is it on yet? Hit your button now. See if it comes on.
Oh,
Okay,
here we go.
now it's working.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this is probably the one contract that has given me the most trouble since I've gotten into it. First of all, it starts off with a 40% increase over the existing years. And that large increase by itself should cause us a pause for justifying it. FAST is certainly a well-known company. I think they operate about 34 or 5 states and provide comprehensive tax support for those states. So here, if my background's right, the state started their first contract with FAST back in 2016-17. Is that correct? Okay, and so they bundle up, and so for a taxpayer in our state, and it's a good system. I mean, for online electronic filing and support and integration and all, it does the job. I mean, but here we are spending going to be $10 million a year and I hate to call it canned software, but it is packaged software that they have implemented again across 34 state lines. And of course, we're getting for this $10 million per year contract. If I understand, they put up to 15 full-time equivalent employees somewhere housed in the state to support this contract. Is that correct? That's what this proposed contract does?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So, and someone in Department of Revenue manages those 15 employees? And how do we determine what jobs and what work those 15 employees do?
Yep. Mr. Chairman, I'll defer to Ms. Greer Allison here for that one.
Thank you, sir. My name is Greer Allison. I'm the director of the tax system. I'm part of revenue and was appointed to manage this vendor. I ran the implementation project with Fast Enterprises, and I continue to direct their work under, I work through the commissioner to make sure that things are implemented within the system based on the laws of the state. So their priorities and the work that they do, how they make the changes, how we implement the legislation is all directed by the business.
Yeah, but our state's tax structure, in my mind, is relatively straightforward. I mean, we got a large percent sales tax, self-reported by all the businesses, an excise tax from the corporate level. We did away with the franchise tax. Of course, we have about 8 or 9 different other taxes that come under the umbrella of revenue to collect, but those have been in place fairly static. And I was reading y'all's write-up about all the initiatives and tax initiatives that have demanded additional fixes or upgrades in the tax fast system. And it just, the composition, this $10 million, I'm going to say $7 million is for those 15 FTE consultants that are in place. The other $3 million is for annual maintenance. And it seems like that $3 million for annual maintenance should cover the request that we put in for the state to upgrade the system. And we don't need 15 folks sitting around waiting for direction. And if we do, we should bring them in. And I'm going to bring up TennCare on the side because they introduced me to a term called, I guess, milestone contracting that says, you know, we'll hire consultants to do a specific job and get them to contract for a particular, to accomplish a particular event, not just to be there on staff waiting to be assigned a project and then, as they call it, just burn consulting hours. And so I've got multiple questions. Has revenue looked at, instead of doing a contract this way, putting it on just a kind of a milestone basis and just say, if there's a need, I mean, we could go through this whole next legislative year without any changes directed to revenue. And therefore, are these 15 folks who are just going to sit there and twiddle their thumbs?
No, sir. There is no twiddling of the thumbs in our TR3 division, as we call it, within revenue. I would say that if you look at the numbers from fiscal year 21, we started with 34 legislative changes, and over the years, those numbers have grown, 34 to 39 to 43 to 62, and in fiscal year 25, we had 80 legislative changes. They do not sit around ever. Their work is continuous. I actually have more work for them than we have time to do. We've been extremely successful. Having the FTEs there has allowed us to respond to emergencies like COVID with our business relief program. They built that from scratch, as well as all of the legislation, for example, the franchise tax refunds that we had to build. They also are more cost effective than our state employees. They're essential to our success. I assure you, sir, that their work is constantly under supervision by me. They do have milestones, not in the technical sense of what you're speaking of, sir, but there are due dates for every change, anything that's happening within the system. There are deliverable dates for them, and I do hold them accountable. At the same time, we have annual maintenance that must occur. It's a system, it's technology. We need to continue with that. They work on that if they're not working on the legislation.
Yeah,
We
but
al-
that maintenance should be in that $3 million that we're paying per year. I mean, you can expand on what does that $3 million in the contract cover?
I cannot speak to the contract. Do you have the terminology in there? But it should be their subscription fee. So you're purchasing their packaged software, correct? But when we purchase that, we configure it behind the scenes to ensure that it meets our laws. So any of the revenue accounting has to be applicable to Tennessee, which is unlike any other state in many respects.
The average hourly rate of these FTEs run in the $400 to $500 an hour. So, I mean, we're paying somewhere around $450 to $400 to $500,000 a year per each FTE. And I know IT consultants are expensive, but I don't think they're in that price range. So, I mean, this contract is very generous to FAST in what upstream profitability or gross margin they're getting. And it comes with a 5% annual increase, where there's the prior contract with FAST only had 2.5% FTE increase. So can you justify why we've doubled that? And if you say inflation, I'm going to kind of BS that a little bit. I mean, we've had a surge of inflation, but I don't think we should keep putting in a 5% projected inflation over the next 5 years in our contracts. Would you care to comment?
Can you comment on that? Do you care to comment or no? I'm sorry? Okay. No, sir, I don't know that I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I wouldn't say inflation. I do say that they work a number of hours. They work more than our state employees very often to ensure that we meet the deliverables and the timelines that the state and the department expects us to meet. As to what they propose to us in a 5% year-over-year increase, I cannot comment on that.
Well, I mean, they're getting well paid. I hope they do work hard for the state, because
They
they
do.
are getting well paid, and their company is getting well paid on top of them. It's just an expensive contract. And again, the whole IT world of all the departments, again, I wish I was smart enough to get my head around it. I mean, we have STS, and every department has their own IT consultants. It just, and again, I think the Department of Revenue is doing a good job. I think they have one of the most efficient websites in dealing with taxpayers in the state, and I think does an awfully good job. But it doesn't mean we don't need to be managing tightly our budget in this contract. And I just think this budget is over generous and should have been better procured with and I think we could have saved the state a lot of money. So,
Representative Brick, is this something that you could have a discussion with the department offline about in the future?
probably, yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You've heard the explanation and the Q&A. Do I have a motion? We have a question? Oh, Cindy Arbor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to follow up a little bit on the representative's question. This contract is, I mean, the reasons here is it's proposed, or one of the reasons here is the proposed sole source contract. Help me understand the rationale for why this is a sole source contract.
The software itself is Gentax. It is proprietary to this company. So I can't hire someone else to come in. Our STS state employees, we do have some on the system who have been trained. They cannot support that alone. So I work with them and the Fast Enterprise employees to keep it moving along and meet with the demands of the state.
That it was a competitive contract when it was originally procured, is that right?
No, sir, it was sole source.
It was sole source from the outset?
Yes, sir. I can answer.
And I guess, I don't know, I find it challenging, Mr. Chairman, just to have a sole source contract that runs for this long at this expense. I mean, in most of our, I mean, we're basically just, this company is now part of the Department of Revenue, right?
May I? I'm sorry, sir,
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt. May I
You're
tell you why
recognized.
it was sole source? At the time, when we put out the information, one of the requirements for this system was that any company with any software could answer, they had to be in production with sales tax. The only company that was in production for at least 3 years, with sales tax was Fast Enterprises. That is why it was awarded sole source, sales tax being our very large revenue generator, and the revenue accounting behind the scenes is quite complicated for the apportionment, and that is why it's sole source, sir.
Are they still the only company that is in production with sales tax?
For more than 3 years, I wouldn't know, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out if this is
Sure.
legitimately like a unique product on the market, or because if we, I mean, I think my challenge, Mr. Chairman, is that if we're dependent effectively on an outside vendor, then our capacity to negotiate rates and other things is just genuinely limited. And I mean, that's one of the reasons that we err towards the side of having these things competitively procured in the first place. But I mean, if it's the only way, but like that makes sense if they're the only provider in the market. It just, but I do think there are lots of other states at this point that have pretty significant sales tax reliance, and so and maybe all of them are dependent on this one vendor. But it strikes me as at least not an ideal scenario for the state.
Up next, Senator Yeager, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a few questions to ask you. This, the basis by which you are paying the contractor, Fast Enterprises, that's set out in this contract, does it represent a change in the basis that we paid them under the contract that we in 2015? I'm trying to look for a reason for the increase in costs, and if you change the way you're paying them, have they increased their rate of pay? I'm putting it in very general terms. But my question is that you set out how you're paying the contractor. Does that represent a change from the original contract in 2015?
No, sir. We paid an annual subscription fee then, and we paid per FTE a certain amount. Now it's raised with each subsequent contract, the rate has raised.
So it's based on you have the annual fixed subscription fee, and then you have
Yes,
the FTE, which could change. And so the dramatic increase is because of the projected increase in FTE?
No, I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm sorry, sir. Do you have a? It's on.
Matilda Carpet, Budget Director. Our original contract with them was for the original procurement of the system back in 2017, 2018. And so we paid them a fee for the procurement of the system. And now our contract is going to be, a piece of it is this maintenance and the license fee that we pay to have access to the software. And then there is a piece that is this FTE. And so there is a piece that is the flat fee that we pay, like the rate of the FTE that we pay. But there is also our anticipated how many FTEs we are hiring.
Is this
So,
the same formula that you used in 2015 to base the fee?
yes.
What if, there's obviously some concern from the members, and Representative Bricken's comments are well taken with me, but is this a matter that requires an urgent decision, or if there was a successful motion to defer it for 30 days, could you do that? I mean, what effect would a motion to defer consideration of this, to give us some time to look at this, affect on you?
I would have to, I think, ask somebody else. The contract started yesterday.
So we're approving a contract you've already entered into?
Yes, we were granted a waiver.
That sounds like a whole meeting in itself, but, so we're approving it. You're asking us to retroactively approve a contract that you've already approved.
We were granted a waiver.
Would you explain that, please?
I think we would need to.
Senator, if I may interject here.
All right.
Senator, if I may interject, I would like to recognize Director Savage. He can explain
Yeah,
your
fine.
question, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Watson.
You're recognized. Let me find you here.
There we go. Thank you, Chairman Yeager. So there is an established process within the committee that allows departments to proceed with certain contracts if there's a timing issue. And so this was one of those instances because the committee timing is on July 1. The department's existing contract was expiring. So the committee provided the leadership of the committee provided the waiver so the department can proceed with the contract with the understanding that the contract would still be before the committee and the committee can make any changes as the committee sees fit. And this is not a precedent. We've had these instances somewhat regularly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the director's comments. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Watson.
Any other questions from the committee? Oh, Senator Carroll, I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just more of a comment. I think maybe this is the fourth time I brought this up in this committee that, you know, it is a unique bug of technology contracts, but a chronic issue for us. And we see constantly these contracts coming up that the cost of switching, in other words, the sunk cost that we put into contracts like this, puts us in a position where we're not able to negotiate and we're sort of at the will of the technology companies. And I wonder if there can't be some kind of research done maybe by TASR or somebody on the front end of these things so that we can see if there's a way that we can be more prophylactic about addressing that so that we don't find ourselves in this position just in terms of how we are dealing with our negotiations for the contracts initially. And that was just a comment, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Representative Chisholm.
We got a motion.
Is it on?
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
And it's Representative Dixie, but
Dixie,
that's okay.
I'm sorry.
This is for Mr. Savage. I said, said that it's not a setting a precedent. This is something that normally happens. I guess my question is with the senator here is why, if we know this contract is expiring, why is it always the last minute or we're waiting and it becomes an issue with timing if we know that we're up against the clock? And if it's a sole source contract, we're not really negotiating anything. They're basically telling us their price and we're taking it. So I guess I'm a little confused or I guess have a lack of understanding. If we knew this contract was coming to an end, why is it such an urgency? And it gets a waiver, and this seems to be okay.
Director, you're recognized.
Representative Dixie, thank you for the question. So in this particular instance, the contract documents were submitted for our May meeting. However, the documentations, the contract itself still had some work to be done on it. It was essentially a draft document that was submitted. So it was not ready for committee's consideration at that time, as the committee does not consider any contracts that are not in their final version for presentation. So that created the issue where the next committee meeting was set for today, which coincided with the expiration of this contract as well. So we provided the waiver to proceed with the understanding that there are contractual provisions that allow the state to back out of any contracts. That's standard language in any contract. So if the committee had an action to take that differs from what has been implemented, that is still a possibility of the committee.
Go ahead.
Is the 2-month lead time, is that the normal time to review and put a contract in place? Is 2 months the normal lead time up?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. We require essentially a 60-day, 40 business day review period. So when the contract is submitted that is not within that time period, we consider it a late submission, and it requires a 2/3 approval of the committee and the commissioner or the director of the agency to be present at the meeting.
Thank you for the clarification.
Chairman Gardner.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Have a motion. Do we hear a second? Second. I have a second. We're ready to vote. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. It is approved. We will go on to, thank you, by the way. Thank you for coming. Item number 2, Labor and Workforce Development. You are recognized, sir.
Good morning, Chairman and Committee. My name is Matthew Grove, the Legislative Liaison for the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development. With me this morning is Gail Age, our Grant Program Manager, and Mr. Jason Cecil, Assistant Commissioner for Workforce Services. The department brings an amendment to our existing contract with Policy and Research LLC to extend the term for 16 months with no increase to the max liability. Policy and Research LLC's contract was awarded via RFP in April of 2022 to conduct an independent evaluation of the Reemployment Services and Eligibility Assessment Program, also called RECIA. RECIA is a federally funded program.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? By the way, we'll ask Environment and Conservation to make your way forward. Any questions at this point on this contract? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Your contract is approved. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. And we move to contract number 3, Environment and Conservation. Ms. Alley is here, and you are recognized. We'll ask also Transportation to come forward next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Allie Williamson. I'm the Director of Legislation for the Department of Environment and Conservation. With me today is Lindsay Oliveras. She is our Senior Sourcing Advisor, and Rob Barrett. He is our Director of Interpretive Programs and Education. The Department of Environment and Conservation is seeking approval for a 3-year, $500,000 sole source contract with Time Looper, Inc. to produce augmented reality content for Tennessee state parks as part of the Access 2030 initiative. Augmented reality enhances storytelling through immersive audio, visuals, and animation, offering accessible and engaging experiences for all visitors.
We have a motion for approval and a second. Any questions? We're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Your contract is approved. Thank you very much for coming. We will move on to Transportation and ask Health to come forward to the table. Transportation is here. Mr. Klein, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. Jay Klein, Director of Legislation for the Tennessee Department of Transportation. I'm joined today by our Director of Finance, Ms. Kenitha Reed. We have one item before you, number 4 on your agenda, and that is our contract with Claims Management Resources. We are seeking 2 items on this contract. The first is just to exercise one of our 1-year renewal options that is within the originally competitively procured contract. So after the exercising of that one option, we'll have one remaining option. And then the second item is to add some language to the contract at the request of the Department of Safety that just clarifies the usage and maintenance of some of the data that Claims Management Resources is utilizing. What Claims Management Resources utilizes is they pull crash data from the Titan database that is managed by the Department of Safety because they provide cost recovery services for the department. So for instance, if a motorist were to strike a guardrail and cause damage to that property, the same way if another vehicle was involved, Claims Management Resources works with that motorist insurance provider to bill for the damage, to make sure that we're recouping those costs and then being able to make that repair at little to no cost to the state.
We have a motion and a second. Good explanation. Thank you very much, Mr. Klein. Any questions for the presenters? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Your contract is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and
Very
Committee.
much, Transportation. Moving on to the Department of Health, we'll ask TennCare to come forward. Department of Health, you are recognized, Mr. Grayson.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Grayson Carter. I'm one of the legislative liaisons for the Tennessee Department of Health. Today, the Department of Health is seeking approval to amend a current contract with Oxbow Data Management Systems, LLC, by adding funds and renewal language for the Metadata Management System, which is used by the Tennessee Breast and Cervical Cancer Screening Program, or
I have a motion and a second. Any questions from members? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Your contract is approved. Thank you very
Chairman and
much.
Committee.
We are moving on now to TennCare, and we'll ask Commerce and Insurance to please make their way forward. Mr. Seals, you're recognized.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Zane Sills, and I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Financial Officer for the Division of TennCare. Our first request before you today is to a competitively procured contract with Deloitte Consulting. The amendment seeks to exercise the first renewal option year in the contract and to increase the maximum liability. In this contract, Deloitte manages our ISL, or Integrated Services Layer. The best way to think about this is if all of our IT systems, our databases, and our external partners and contractors are all blocks and buildings and city blocks. Our ISL is the roads, the power lines, the sewer, the water.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions from members on this contract? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you very much for that contract. Number 2, item number 7, rather.
Our next request is for a competitively procured contract with Public Consulting Group, or PCG. In this amendment, we're requesting to extend for 12 months and to increase the maximum liability. In this contract, PCG manages our testing program for our Medicaid modernization program.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions for Mr. Seals? Senator Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is more of a statement than a question, but I'd be terribly remiss if I didn't turn our attention to a very special guest who's in the audience today. If Miss Tedra Spooler could stand up. I told her I was going to single her out, and she didn't believe me. Tedra served in our office in 2024 as she from the clerk's office, where she worked as a clerk to the Senate Republican press office, and did an outstanding job while she was there. And she's currently finished her first year at Belmont Law School. So I just wanted to recognize her and congratulate her on her achievement. Thank you, Tedra.
Thank you, Senator. Chair is looking
Mr.
for
Chairman,
a motion. Yes.
The chairman of finance is very succinct in his comment.
we're looking for a motion and a second on this
Yeah,
contract.
okay, yeah, please.
Have a motion, have a second. We have a question, Senator Yarborough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I support the motion because I think we have discussed it in the context of this particular project before. I do want to just kind of note for the record that this does go against our general, strategy of not having contracts that were originally bid for 3-year terms with a possible 2-year extension extend into their 11th year. I think that there are particular exigencies that are noted in the department's response that we discussed previously, but I do want to just note that that's obviously not what we want to see go forward, and that we anticipate that this will return to a competitive procurement at some point, but I don't oppose the extension today because
Thank you,
of
Senator.
the department's efforts.
Mr. Shields, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your comment. It's well taken. We completely agree that we try and avoid extensions wherever possible. I think I noted to the committee in the email I sent, we are working on a replacement for this one. It was originally delayed because of the federal public health emergency. We did think that the replacement RFP would be live by now. It got delayed by a few months, and that's related to the decision that I talked about in front of this committee back in May. We're taking advantage of some new flexibilities from the federal government to lean out our MMIS modernization. That effort of being able to lean that out should reduce out-year spending by about $50 million or more over the next 5 years. And kind of the fruit of that decision, it impacts this contract. Because we made that decision, we're going to be able to craft a tighter scope on this replacement RFP. A tighter scope should result in lower cost bids. And so that's why this one got held up an additional few months as we made that other decision. But actively developing the RFP now and anticipate it'll be live relatively soon.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second, I believe. We do. We ready to vote? All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Seals. We're moving on to Commerce and Insurance, and ask Economic and Community Development to come forward. Commerce and Insurance, contract number 8, you're recognized.
Good morning, Chairman and members. My name is Elizabeth Bowling, and I'm the Assistant Commissioner with the Tennessee Securities Division at the Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance. With me today is Graham Tudor, the Assistant Legislative Director at the department. The department is before you today to amend our competitively procured contract with Scripps Media to exercise the first 1-year renewal option and increase the maximum liability.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions from members? Chairman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you just give a little bit more detail around exactly the function of this particular contract? I know it includes airing interviews, just a little bit more details exactly what happens under the construct of this contract.
Yes, Senator. We work with Scripps is the parent company of News Channel 5, and we work with News Channel 5 to produce the video segments and then use those in our investor education program to provide outreach to Tennesseans. And part of the contract also specifically requires them to target the economically distressed counties so that we can provide investor education specifically to those counties in addition to the rest of the state.
Yeah, so are these being aired on their station, Channel 5? Are these being aired on social media? Are these being aired on other competing channels as well?
Yes, Senator. These are aired in multiple ways, including social media, streaming platforms, television, and websites. And then the department also has the ability to post those and include those on the department's YouTube and other platforms, and then on the social media platforms as well.
Follow up.
Thank you. So I'm assuming that this is like it was competitively bid.
Yes.
So this is like the production side of a particular news station versus the news side of that station. I'm trying to understand how a how a news station
Yes, it is.
participates in this and not a public relations firm or another type of video production firm that would be doing this kind of broadcast for us, which would seem to give us a wider net of application in terms of using it on other competing news stations and other types of platforms. It was just a curiosity of me that a News Channel 5, a particular news station, was providing this production service, and why not like a public relations firm?
This was competitively procured, and News Channel 5, it's News Channel 5 Plus, which you may see several different programs. I know that we've participated in the aging productions that they have. We've been guests on that. They have, and so this was something that they bid for, and it is something that we can utilize, and it includes the cost. It includes the production, but it's also specifically pushing that out to areas that we have requested. So it's more than just production. It's also through their News Channel 5 Plus program and News Channel 5. The segments are called Common Sense. You can see them during Talk of the Town. And this is just the the contract was awarded because they were the lowest bidder through the RFP process.
Hey, thank you, Chairman.
Any other questions? I believe the chair is needing a motion in a second. Have a motion and a second. All right, we're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Commerce and Insurance, contract number 9. You're recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Benjamin Glover, Assistant Director and General Counsel for the Tennessee Emergency Communications Board. To my right is Executive Director Curtis Sutton, and then our Training Coordinator Jennifer Schwindeman. Today, we are asking the committee to review an amendment to the contract with Virtual Academy. They provide the TECB with an online training platform that allows the TECB to provide and monitor online training for 911 telecommunicators across the state of Tennessee. Virtual Academy has since we entered into the contract in 2023, they have now become the exclusive provider of the National Emergency Number Association Telecommunicator Core Competencies Certification course. TECB seeks to amend the contract in order to purchase 1,000 licenses for the course at $239 per license.
We have a motion, we have a second, we have a question from Representative Bricken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My primary comment, and again, if this is approved, I just want to get clarification that the several $100,000 per year, the state's emergency board is picking up the cost, and where up to now, each individual 911 district was paying for their certification training for their dispatchers. That cost now is going to be borne at the state level. And so all our local 911 districts should see a budget relief for this component of their training. Would that be correct?
Yes, it will. The state will take on all the costs. So this will prevent the local 911 districts from having to bring somebody in to do this training, this 40-hour training, or send their folks to another agency to get this training. So, and if they do that, they have to backfill the position and pay for travel costs. So this should take off that cost from the local emergency communications districts.
Thank
you. Chairman Gardner.
Yes, just to clarify something we asked yesterday, but for public to know, these funds do not come out of the general fund of the state. It's coming from the 911 fee. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Contract is approved. Thank you, Commerce and Insurance. Moving on to ECD, and let's see who's going to follow ECD. Education, I believe, is up next. So ECD, you're recognized.
Thank you. Bryce Rochelle, Assistant General Counsel for ECD. To my far right, we have Cameron Snow, who's ECD's Legislative Liaison. To my immediate right, we have Jill White, who is our State Program Director for the Appalachian Regional Commission. And behind me is Kent Archer, who is our State Director for Community Infrastructure. So
We have a motion and we have a second. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That contract is approved. We will now go to contract number 11. ECD, you're recognized again.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to Horn LLP. This would be amendment number 1 to contract 84910 with Horn LLP. This contract was previously competitively procured via request for proposals. The resulting contract began on November 1st, 2024, and was originally projected to run for 3 years until October 31st, 2027, with two 12-month renewal options for a maximum 60-month
We have a
term.
motion and a second. Thank you for the explanation. We have a question from Representative Ricken.
Thank you. This $4 million addition is for Horn LLP to oversee the administration of the federal highway dollars, and that was like $85 million. Is that correct?
Thank you. Again, I'm Ken Archer. I'm the Director of Community Infrastructure at ECD, overseeing the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program. This would be for the additional $85+ million for Helene recovery in Northeast Tennessee.
Okay. The original contract was for $3 million.
Yes, sir.
How much federal dollars did they oversee for the $3 million?
So roughly $85 million and that covered disasters from 2020, 2021. So the tornadoes that went through Nashville, Putnam County, and then also the storms in the Hamilton County area and the flooding in Humphreys County.
So I'm just following the math. The $3 million covered it. Previously $85 million worth
Yes, sir.
of federal emergency, and this $4 million is also for $85 million.
Yes, sir.
So the difference is for why it's not this one 3, not 4. I mean, why
Yes,
is
sir.
it 4, not 3?
So part of it is that these are running so concurrently. It was shortly after we awarded that contract in November that we got the new additional funds. And so we felt like the streamlining here would make sense. We are, with what we've looked at in terms of the unmet recovery need in Northeast Tennessee, the types of activities are going to be a little bit more intensive. We're looking at more housing recovery. We're looking at small business recovery. And so there are just a lot more touch points. There's a lot more verification that we're not duplicating benefits of assistance that's already been received versus a lot of the public infrastructure type activities that we will be addressing or that we are addressing with the 2020 or the previous grant.
Very good. Any other questions? Do we have a motion to second? Chair's waiting on a motion. And a second.
It's always good to see who's awake.
Yeah, it is. Hello, anybody out there? We have a motion to second. Any other questions from the members? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you, ECD, for coming. Moving on to contract number 12, education. Education is here. You're recognized, Ms. Robin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Robin Ye. I'm Director of Policy and External Affairs at the Department of Education, and I'm joined by Christy Brown, our Chief Academic Officer. The first contract that we have is with the Council for Professional Recognition. This is a new 26-month contract for the Child Development Associate credential materials and application fees. The contract term is from August 6, 2025 through September 30th of 2027 with a federally funded maximum liability of $555,230. The contract is to allow teachers' assistants in early childhood classrooms to apply for a CDA credential. State law requires that voluntary pre-K classrooms staff at least one educator one teacher assistant with a CDA credential or an associate's degree in early childhood education. And the Council for Professional Recognition is the sole source provider of the CDA program that can grant this credential. I'm happy to answer any questions.
You've heard the explanation, members. Any questions? We have a motion. Have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That contract is approved, and you have the next one too, item 13.
Thank you. The next contract that we have is with LRP Publications. This is a new 3-year contract with them for the Tennessee Direct Step modules and the special education newsletter. The contract runs from August 6, 2025 through June 30th of 2028 with a 100% federally funded maximum liability of $430,640.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions from the members? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. This contract is approved. And moving on to item number 14, education again. You're recognized.
Thank you. The last one that we have for you all today is with Teachstone Inc. This is another 26-month contract that is also federally funded. And it is for the training components and coursework required for the Child Development Associate credential. The contract term is from August 6, 2025 through September 30th of 2027, and the maximum liability is $635,650. This contract will allow teachers assistants in early childhood programs to receive the training they need to apply for the CDA credential. As I mentioned earlier, state law requires that LEAs ensure their voluntary pre-K classes are staffed with at least one teacher's assistant with this credential or with an associate's degree in early childhood education.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That contract is approved. Thank you for being here. Children's Services is on deck. We'll ask Agriculture to make their way forward, if you would. So moving to item number 15 on your agenda, and Mr. Lewis, Ms. O'Donnell, you're recognized.
Good morning, Chairman and members. My name is Hayes O'Donnell. I'm a legislative liaison for Tennessee's Department of Children's Services. To my right, we have Mr. Bo Lewis, who is our Executive Director of Grants, Procurement, and Contracts. Item number 15 is a proposed sole source contract with Evident Change. This will replace the previously approved sole source contract that expired on June 30th, 2025. The Department of Children's Services is seeking for an approval for a 2-year contract with no term extensions, with the maximum liability set at $860,154. This contract is for Safe Measures, a subscription reporting service owned by Evident Change that permits customers to monitor service delivery activity by navigating an extensive set of reports presented in easy-to-read graph and chart form. DCS currently utilizes this data from our TFAX systems. This 2-year contract will allow us to transition from TFAX to the Comprehensive Child Welfare Information System, or otherwise known as CWES. The department has contracted with Evident Change for the subscription and technical support since May 15th, 2025.
You've heard the explanation. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That contract is approved. Moving on to item number 16. You're recognized.
Thank you once again, Chairman and members. I'm Hayes O'Donnell, Legislative Liaison to the Department of Children's Services. To my immediate right, Mr. Bo Lewis, Executive Director of Procurement, Grants, and Contracts. And then to our far right, we have Mr. Anthony Neese, our Executive Director of Federal Programs, joining us. Item number 16, this contract is an amendment to the Youth Villages Incorporated Multi-Systematic Therapy, or MST, services. This contract was awarded through a competitive request for proposals RFP process and is currently effective through June 30th, 2027. The department is requesting an increase to the daily service rate from the current $95 to a proposed rate of $96.90. The maximum liability of the contract will remain unchanged for a total of $9 million. The MST program is an evidence-based, intensive, in-home intervention utilized to reduce juvenile justice-involved youth who are at an imminent risk of being placed into state's custody. These services are used strategically to help reduce the recidivism rate of youth involved in the juvenile courts and with our department. These goals are achieved by conducting new assessments or leveraging existing assessments, diverting eligible youth from commitment when appropriate, and delivering ongoing services post-commitment to reduce the likelihood of recidivism.
You've heard the explanation. Any questions? Oh, Senator Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we have any data on the efficacy of the MST program thus far in assessing recidivism?
I will allow our Executive Director, Mr. Tony Neese, to respond.
You're recognized.
Good morning. Tony Neese, Executive Director, Division of Federal Programs. The MST program is a well-supported evidence-based program. In Tennessee, our intercept and MST rates are together. Recidivism for a child coming into care, if a child comes into care after receiving the service for both programs, 94% of the children who receive it do not come into care.
Follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If that really is indeed the case, my goodness, considering all of the issues that we're having right now, which are, I don't have to tell you, pretty significant with the juvenile detention, Department of Children's Services, and, pretty horrific issues, I would say. Anything that we can do to prevent these sorts of things from happening, I certainly support. That's impressively high number. I'm actually surprised by that, but thank you.
Thank you. Representative Dixie, you're recognized. Okay. Any other questions from members? We have a motion and a second. Seeing no further questions, we're ready to vote on this contract. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That contract is approved. Moving on to item number 17, Children's Services once again, and you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and members. Once again, Hayes O'Donnell, Legislative Liaison with Department of Children's Services. To my immediate right, Mr. Bo Lewis, our Executive Director of Grants, Procurement, and Contracts. And to our far right, we have Ms. Lindsay Coleman, our Executive Director of Statewide Specialized Support Services. And I dare you to say it 5 times fast. Item number 17 is an amendment to the Sole Source Youth Villages LifeSet contract. This contract is set to expire June 30th, 2026. The Department of Children's Services is seeking approval to update the scope, increase the daily rate from $15 to $50, and increase the maximum liability of $3,761,250 for a total of $17,936,250. Youth Villages has ownership of the LifeSet model that DCS employs statewide. Youth Villages LifeSet model is designed to help young people aging out of the foster care system. Youth Villages developed the model back in 1999 and has since its conception, LifeSet has helped more than 25,000 young individuals aging out of state custody and other care arrangement, successfully transitioning them to independence. The program model includes procedures and interventions to help youth maintain stable and suitable housing, remain free from involvement with the law, participate in educational and vocational programs, and develop other critical life skills.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any questions? Senator Watson.
Thank you for the presentation. In the description, it says to improve outcomes of permanency, education, employment, housing, sir. What are the metrics and where are those published? And have we seen those that actually the outcomes that are being promoted are actually being achieved?
If I may, I'll allow Ms. Coleman to respond.
You're recognized.
Lindsay Coleman, Executive Director of Statewide Specialized Support Services. And thank you for the question. Following the hearing, we can get you the exact metrics. I know that the young people who accept LifeSet services do very well in the service. The service actually sort of does all the things that that you would expect sort of a parent to help with. When kids age out of foster care, they oftentimes don't have an adult to depend on, right? So While every child doesn't have the same path, the goal of that service really is to come alongside that youth or young person and help them become successful in life. So if they need a place to live, or if they need a food source, or if they need help interviewing skills for a job, or they need help getting clothing, to go to their job interview, all of those things that I would help my children do as they grow up, or that you guys would help your children do as they grow up. A lot of our young people aging out of foster care don't have that same support. So we can get you some specific metrics that Youth Villages publishes, because I know that they do that. But I will say that the young people who choose to accept this program are far better off than the young people who choose not to.
Follow up?
Well, I would like to see the data that supports your feelings. And that's one of the challenges with many of these kinds of operational kind of contracts that promote to improve outcomes. But to my knowledge, I'm not aware of where we started. And so how have we improved it? And that's more than just that we signed up more foster children this year than we did last year. That's an input, not an outcome. And so I'm really interested, and I would encourage committee members to stay vigilant about if we're looking at a service contract that's going to promote certain outcomes, that they be held accountable to those outcomes, and those outcomes actually are supported by the data and not by how people feel about the program. Unless the outcome is that it's going to make us feel better about what we're doing, even if it's not achieving the results that are being promoted. And I know, within our members would be reminded that within our Department of Human Services, we started a specific program looking at actually using randomized controlled trials, which for those of us that are in the human sciences recognize that is the gold standard for evaluation of a program. And we don't do that in the vast majority of our programs. And we end up spending a lot of money on something only to find out that it never really did what we were told it was doing. So I would encourage you to please get me that data, because I think contracts like this need to be held accountable to the outcomes that they profess to achieve. Sorry for the preaching, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Yeager, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In reading the contract summary in front of me, you among other things will provide congregate care. Would that include an institution like Roan Academy, which is a contracts with children's services and receives placements? What role do you have in the care for the placements to an institution like Roan Academy, which is a organization that's within my district?
You're recognized.
Lindsay Coleman, Executive Director of Statewide Specialized Support Services. Thank you for your question. I think what you might be referring to in the paperwork is the reference about the philanthropic dollars that Youth Villages traditionally put towards this program that's no longer available, and how they're transitioning their therapeutic dollars to support some of our bed capacity in residential settings. Roan Academy is a residential setting. It is not a residential setting that is a Youth Villages run setting.
Repeat that last sentence.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
I apologize. So Roan Academy is a residential setting. So it's where we have young people who need a higher level of care living in a residential placement. Roan Academy is not a Youth Villages placement. So the reference to congregate care in the documents that you were sent and reviewed and are referencing actually is Youth Villages' plan to realign their philanthropic dollars that they traditionally put towards this program towards bed capacity for residential settings that they own. While I'm certain that Roan Academy probably has philanthropical dollars as well, I would not be able to speak to that at this hearing today.
So you're telling me that the Youth Village dollars are not finding their way into programs for Roan Academy? Is that a fair interpretation of what you're telling me?
Well, yes, sir. The Youth Village's philanthropic dollars that they raise would go into programs that they own, just like Roan Academy's dollars that they raise would likely go into Roan Academy versus giving it to a different agency. They're just two separate companies.
All right, but, and I think you helped me here a little bit, but obviously many, the folks that are at this academy are placements.
Yes,
through
sir.
DCS. So, but to that extent, that would not trigger any of the funding through this contract.
So there could be individuals who are at Roan Academy or transitioning out of Roan Academy who are in the age group that could access services through LifeSet. So LifeSet serves young people from different placements from all of our agencies, and even young people who are in foster homes through all of our agencies. So yes, the young people at Roan Academy could benefit from services associated with this contract.
The reason why I ask these questions, Mr. Chairman, is that we have had several experiences of disruptive behavior at this academy, and I was trying to get a handle on the relationship here to see if there's obviously something not working, and perhaps we can continue the discussion. But your answer has satisfied me today, so thank you, Madam. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions? Chairman Watson.
To the chairman of the committee, and then you can speak to it. If I bring members' attention to under the title amendment for review, and maybe this was discussed and it just went right past me. In terms of the reduction, it appears to be we're reducing the scope of services that we're asking of the contractor, while at the same time increasing the rate per day per client, which seems to be somewhat counterintuitive. If we're asking the vendor to, and I'll bring attention to the members, I'll just read these for the record, Mr. Chairman. Revise the scope of services to reduce the vendor's case management responsibilities. That's one. Increase the rate from $15 to $25 per day per client. That's two. Remove the vendor's responsibility to provide a 25% match with private funds. That's three. And increase significantly the maximum liability in order to expand delivery of the LifeSet services. So it seems to be kind of contradictory language to increase the rate while reduce the responsibilities of the vendor. So can you help, and perhaps the chairman can help, can you speak to that?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I can speak to that. Before I do, I did want to go back to your previous question, if that is okay. Youth Villages has published a report that speaks to the success of the program. I wanted to give you a couple of highlights, and I am happy to share that with this committee afterwards. So a couple of the items is we have 13% improvement in mental health, a 7% increase in employment, 17% increase in earnings, a 22% reduction in homelessness, and 30% reduction in domestic and partner violence, along with a 13% reduction in economic hardships. And I'm happy to share that report with you so we can dive in deeper with that as well.
Good, thank you.
And back to your most recent question. So previously, this contract has included two different items. That has been the LifeSet services and the extension of foster care case management. We are now separating those two items into two separate contracts. So the contract before you today is only going to cover the LifeSet case management. And I'm going to go back a little and help us explain the numbers. We were originally approved for 970 slots between these two initial programs. 563 of those belonging to LifeSet, 407 belonging to the extension of foster care case management, for a total of $14,137,180. That did not meet our needs. So our needs, we needed 1,026 slots, with that being broken up for 461 for LifeSet and 565 for extension of foster care case management. That was the population we are currently serving. So with that, we were given approval from the budgeting office to say, you may organize these slots how you wish, as long as it does fall into these two contracts or these two programs. and meets the number, the cost that we gave you, that 14 million or under. I'd like to believe that we have maximized that and we have come out with 1,060 overall slots while saving around $3-5 grand from that original number. So how we did that, how we determined those new slots is we took just a couple more from what we're originally serving for LifeSet. So we have a few more availabilities for you that may need that coming in. For extension of foster care, all of you here are aware that we had an administration bill that recently updated the extension of foster care, and we are expecting more people to be in that program, thus increasing the need for the extension of foster care case management. So with that, we gave the extension of foster care case management 30 extra slots, bringing it to a total of 595. Does that help bring some clarity?
Senator?
So if I've heard you correctly, then the reductions or the changes that are referenced in the packet, those services are still being provided, but they're just in different buckets. Is that the way to explain it?
Yes, sir, simply.
Okay, so in this particular bucket, which is the LifeSet bucket, those services that are outlined here are not really being provided in that bucket anymore. So therefore, the LifeSet has less responsibility, less service. So how is it that it costs more money to do that? How is it that the cost has gone from $15 to $50, which is a 300%, over 300% increase? And then we've shifted those services, if I've heard you correctly, we've shifted those services from the LifeSet bucket to another bucket, which is now case management, correct?
You're recognized.
Can
I have you repeat that last part for me, Chairman? I apologize.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to belabor this. I think, that all these contracts, particularly when it's 66% is state dollars, we need to drill down a little bit deeper and be sure we're getting what we're paying for. And I'm not questioning that we're not. I'm just saying we need to have evidence of that. And then when there is a cost increase, there should be a clear explanation of how that cost increase is being calculated. And if I've heard you correctly, the vendor used to provide all these services in one bucket. And in that one bucket, we were not able to it did not accommodate the number of people that we needed served. So you took that bucket and split it into two buckets. And in one bucket is the LifeSet services, which don't include the things that have been outlined in the packet. And in the other bucket is case management services. The increase in rate from $15 to $50, does that apply to the LifeSet bucket, or does that apply to the case management bucket, or does it apply to both buckets? And if so, why? Because we're still getting the same services. We've just divided them into two different buckets. Is that better?
Thank you, and I believe I understand that. Thank you, yes.
Okay.
So by same bucket, it was previously same bucket, same contract. So while they are still providing those same services, we are just splitting it up into those two different houses where they should have been. From that, LifeSet, that is the one that is changing from 15 to 50. And then EFC case management, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Bo, that's going to $26 a day. And that is its own separate entity that is not before you today.
Okay.
Now,
but before you get away, and then I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but then I'll be done. So under the bucket that we're in right now, explain to us exactly there's less service in that bucket than in the full bucket that we had before. How is it that it's going from $15 to $50? What's the explanation for that cost increase?
so the $15 rate was initially set back in fiscal year 2013 when that first appeared in a grant contract with our department, and that was before you all. That was set as an estimated cost for the expected services and the amount of children that would be in the program for delivery of service cost. They have not received a rate increase in well over a decade since this program began. The funding that you are seeing here today, that was approved in the budget by you all, and we do very much appreciate that. And I understand why we're here is that important part of a checks and balances. So furthermore, with that change from 15 to 50. So both of the services and the amount of youth in that program were underestimated initially. When that was evaluated, the cost of services and delivery for that has been $50. Youth Villages has been very gracious to use philanthropic funds from the Day Foundation to help cover that cost, overseeing that 25% match that you have previously read into that. Now, there is no longer a 25% match in this contract because those funds have been depleted. The Day Foundation was made with the intention to service the LifeSet program. Additionally, Youth Villages, they're very good about accruing philanthropic funds, but their initiatives moving forward are to help make more beds for high-risk, high-needs youth, which our department is in support of. Does that help clarify?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to ask. I would just say, I think we have probably reviewed this contract since the initial 2013, and I don't know whether there were rate increases requested along the way or not, or simply because of the way the contract was constructed, we didn't look at those kind of rate increases. But I understand the position and the posture. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Final question, Senator Yarborough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I believe Chairman Watson handled most of my questions. And I do want to confirm that you will provide the Youth Villages report or the data to all members. But I did want to make one comment sort of building off Chairman Watson's first set of comments. And these are probably more for less about this contract right now, because I don't think any type of revision would make sense, but more for sort of the CPO, for fiscal review staff, and for all of our departments thinking about these service provision contracts in terms of measuring outcomes instead of, often, most of the time, our procurements are, the price point is driven by cost, which makes a lot of sense. But when we are contracting for things that are, intended to achieve outcomes, it seems that we should have some flexibility to ensure that ensure some contractual, incentives that actually facilitate those outcomes, which is a little different than how we typically do things. But I do think it's a place where some innovation would be very helpful. In using a generic example, if there's a baseline recidivism rate, you could have the cost of contract set somewhere near that, meeting that mark, and with something that actually incentivizes improvements to that recidivism rate that will actually redound to the vendor's advantage. And I think that I just think that is a way, when we rely on outside vendors for service, I mean, one of the real upsides, if you're going to have, of using those, this type of contract, is to be able to incentivize outcomes. And I think we should at least more consciously think about how to do that.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions? The chair is waiting on a motion and a second.
Motion.
Have motion and second. Without any further questions, we are voting on item number 17. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. That contract is approved. Members, I've been advised by staff that items 18 through 23 are very, very similar, and we have the opportunity to vote on these as a block. If you have any individual questions about any of those, you can ask the presenter, but I will ask Ms. O'Donnell if you would explain the similarity of these contracts, and then we'll take a vote.
Thank you, Chairman. Once again, Hayes O'Donnell, Department of Children's Services Legislative Liaison. To my right, Mr. Bo Lewis, Executive Director of Procurement, Grants, All Things Contracts. And far right, Ms. Lindsay Coleman, our Executive Director of Statewide Services, Specialized Support Services. Item 18 through number 23 are amendments to the Youth Villages case management contracts. These services are provided by the same, the services provided, as the chairman stated, are the same. They are just divvied up by regions. So the department, we're required to maintain a specified caseload requirement within the case manager series. Whenever regions are out of compliance with these ratios, the department will utilize case management services until new staff can be recruited, hired, onboarded, and complete the new expanded pre-service program. For all of these contracts, DCS, we are seeking for approval to extend the term and increase the daily rate from $22 to $26.50. Additionally, items 18, 19, and 21 are seeking approval for an increase in maximum liability, while items 22 and 23 are going to be seeing a decrease in maximum liability.
You've heard the explanation, members. Any questions? We have a motion and a second. Without objection, we're voting on these as a group. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Those contracts are approved. Thank you very much for your presentation. Moving on to item number 24, we'll ask Human Services to come forward. Agriculture is on deck. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and members. My name is Lily Douthit. I'm the Legislative Liaison for the Department of Agriculture. Also from the Department of Agriculture, I have Naomi Kelly, Agricultural Scientist Manager, and Lori Holt, Procurement Administrative Services Assistant. The Tennessee Department of Agriculture is seeking approval for a sole source 3-year contract with an option for 2-year-long extensions with IDEX Distributions for the purpose of animal testing kits. The proposed maximum liability of the contract is $858,330. The Cord Animal Health Diagnostic Laboratory provides.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions for agriculture? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you, Agriculture, for being here. The contract is approved. Human Services, they're on deck. Good to see you, Ms. Baggett.
Good morning,
Tell us
Chairman.
about your contracts.
I will. They're riveting. So, good morning. This morning, I have item number 25 before you. It's a contract with DNA Diagnostics. They provide genetic material collection and testing services required by the federal government for our child support division. The contract before you is an amendment that is updating sections to comply with CPO's insurance template.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions? We're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. It is approved. Number 26.
Thank you, sir. Item number 26 is a contract with Fidelity. FIS is our current EBT card vendor. We are starting this contract with them for their fraud navigator services. This is a module that can be used to help our customers and our Office of Inspector General track instances of fraud or skimming that have occurred in the state.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All in favor of this contract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The contract is approved. Item number 27.
I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Paige Foster.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Paige Foster, DHS Legislative Liaison. Item number 27 is for New Orleans Teleport or Calls Plus. Calls Plus runs an answering service for when our Adult Protective Services staff are unable to answer the phone, whether that's after hours, holidays, or they're on the lines.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have I think I saw a hand. Senator Yeager.
That's a very brief comment, if you please, Mr. Chairman, but I understand that Ms. Baggett celebrated a birthday recently, perhaps Saturday, so best wishes.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? We ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Whoop. All opposed say no. Ayes have it. That contract is approved. And Ms. Baggett, I understand that you have a legislatively required presentation that about 2 minutes that you have to give to this committee.
Yes, sir.
So members, if you will bear with us, and I'll then hand the gavel back to Chairman Gardner. Go ahead. You're
Yes, sir. Chairman and committee, thank you so much for indulging us so that we can present to you on our community services block grant. This is a federal legislatively required presentation. Every 3 years, we are to give you all a status update on this program in Tennessee. I'm going to let our program expert, Lindsay Witten, who's our CSBG director, Director give this presentation, and we heard the message loud and clear. Thank you.
Hi, as Colin said, I am Lindsay Witten. I am the Program Director for CSBG at the Department of Human Services, and I will be as quick as I possibly can. As she mentioned, we are required to hold this legislative hearing as part of our state plan. We must do it once every 3 years. Our last hearing occurred in August of 2022. So this hearing will cover our new plan for federal fiscal year 2026 and 2027. For those that may be unfamiliar with the Community Services Block Grant, it provides assistance through a network of community action agencies for the reduction of poverty, the revitalization of low-income communities, and the empowerment of low-income families to become fully self-sufficient. CSBG is extremely unique because the law is intentionally broad, which helps in the flexibility to meet and fill gaps for community needs. CSBG does not have a required program component. It acts as the core source of funding for an agency designated as a community action agency. Community action agencies conduct a community needs assessment and use the results as a roadmap to develop programs and services unique to their communities. The Department of Human Services is the state administrator for CSBG. We have 4 full-time staff, myself as the director, and 3 block grant coordinators. We contract with a network of 20 community action agencies, and they serve all 95 counties in Tennessee. We also collaborate closely with 2 statewide entities, the Tennessee Association of Community Action and the Tennessee Association of Human Resource Agencies. Apologize. So this is a map of our CAAs in Tennessee. This is available on our website, but just wanted to have it to share with the committee. So in terms of funding, in FY25, DHS received an allocation of about $15.1 million. Federal requirements stipulate that at least 90% of that allocation goes to our CAAs. Up to 5% can be used for administrative purposes, and the remaining 5% can be used for distinct discretionary purposes. Oversight of CSBG is provided by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Community Services. Just to give you an idea of impact of CSBG, in FY23 from our annual report, our community action agencies served 337,468 individuals, as well as 170,824 households. They served over 35,000 individuals without health care, over 116,000 individuals with disabilities, over 60,000 senior citizens, over 112,000 children in poverty, and over 4,000 veterans and active military personnel. Our state plan provides a roadmap for continuous improvement of CSBG service delivery so we can build on that impact. To achieve this, we have several content areas that we focus on when writing our state plan, and that is training and technical assistance, communication, performance management, and linkages. As part of our commitment to training and technical assistance, our team provides a myriad of options to our community action agencies. We also partner with the Tennessee Association of Community Action and the Tennessee Association of Human Resource Agencies for their annual conferences to develop content and lead sessions when appropriate. Open and transparent communication is one of the core values in our CSBG unit. We make it a priority to stay connected with our agencies through weekly news updates emails, quarterly newsletters, annual grant management sessions, on-site visits, and one-on-ones with agencies at the end of each monitoring cycle. In alignment with our approach to communication, our approach to performance management and linkages show a commitment to our strong partnerships across our network. Our community action agencies statewide worked alongside over 2,000 nonprofit organizations, 1,147,000 faith-based groups, and 229 school districts to expand their reach and better serve individuals and families. Equally as important is the partnership between DHS and our network of agencies. To support the development of this state plan draft, we convened a work group of 6 agencies representing all 3 grand regions to reform our 62-page policy and procedure manual to 10 distinct policies. The result is a more efficient process that alleviates administrative burden for our local agencies and our CSBG unit. Because of our focused efforts on strengthening partnerships across Tennessee, DHS recently earned a score of 87 on the American Customer Satisfaction Index survey utilized by the Office of Community Services. Our score represents a 25-point improvement from the score of 62 on the 2021 survey. We also achieved a score of 90 in confidence and trust in the lead state agency, and Tennessee was one of 12 states to rank in the top quartile. Another one of CSBG's greatest strengths is its flexibility. In 2023, for every $1 of CSBG funding allocated to our community action agencies, they leveraged $21.84 from other federal, state, local, and private sources. This is nearly double the $11.21 leveraged for every dollar in 2020. This represents a 94.8% increase in just 3 years, and this growth highlights how CSBG as the core source of funding can empower our agencies to broaden their community impact. The last 3 slides that I have for you just showcase several programs that we have at the local level and how they have provided not only financial assistance, but a path to self-sufficiency. So Bradley Cleveland Community Services Agency has an empowerment initiative, which combines emergency shelter with job training and financial literacy. Leveraging CSBG funds, they partner with local landlords to provide housing support and life skills coaching, helping 50 families to progress towards long-term stability and self-sufficiency. With Upper East Tennessee Human Development Agency, they partnered with United Way of Greater Kingsport and TCAT Kingsport and launched a pilot program to improve workforce retention and education by addressing a critical barrier to success, which is transportation. Leveraging a $10,000 grant from United Way, TCAT students provided supervised vehicle repairs at no labor cost, helping employed individuals and students avoid job or school loss. Upper East case managers coordinate assessment, support, and follow-up to promote lasting stability. And the last example I have for you is with Douglas Cherokee Economic Authority. They launched a property tax assistance program. They launched a property tax assistance program to help low-income seniors maintain housing stability by covering eligible property tax payments. This initiative reduced financial burdens, helping seniors avoid displacement and maintain independence while decreasing their reliance on emergency services. And that is all I have, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Any questions? Yeah, thank you. Any questions or comments from the panel? Senator Watson, Chairman Watson.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this has been around since 1981, according to your documents. And it's a federally funded anti-poverty initiative.
Yes.
So do you have any results that it actually is doing what it was set up to do? And how much mission creep has occurred over the roughly 45 years that this program has been in place?
Absolutely. So CSBG actually started in the 1960s. It was just combined in 1981 to become what we know it as today, which is CSBG. We actually do an annual report that is required by the federal government every year that documents the outcomes. We have about 10 different domains that we utilize. So that could be around housing, it could be around nutrition, it could be around education. And we document the outcomes in each of those domains. So I'm happy to share that annual report, but it documents things like staying 90 days out of an eviction notice and being able to stay in housing, avoiding utility disconnection. It also includes incomes like education and how children have been able to maintain education. So happy to share that completed report. The most recent one we have is FY23, but we are actually right now in the review process for FY24, and that one will be ready soon.
So I think members would be interested in that data. Perhaps you've provided that data to us and we just don't remember, haven't seen it, or you just give it to your federal partners and we don't. I think that would be helpful to us because obviously we're in a time of where from federal, state, and local governments are all reviewing all of the various programs that are funded with taxpayer dollars to determine the effectiveness and the efficiency of that. We should always be asking ourselves, are we getting the results that we are intending to get? So from your data from 1981 until when these programs were combined to today, have we been successful in fighting poverty? Are there less people in poverty today than there were in 1981 as a percentage of our population?
What we've been successful in is understanding the needs of our community. So what CSBG does is they require each agency to do a community needs assessment. So as I mentioned, CSBG does not have a required program component. So our agencies are able to develop programs and services that are specific to maybe the one county that they serve or the multiple counties that they serve. So they can transform those programs and services year to year to meet the needs of those communities. So if they notice that something is not working, they can change it and make those changes as the community depends on.
Well, I appreciate that explanation, but the question was really, do we have as a percentage of our population, and just speaking really for Tennessee, do we have more or fewer people in poverty today than we did in 1981?
Right, and I don't know that I have
Can
that
you speak
specific.
into the microphone, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know that I have that specific data today, but we can, there is a new program that the federal government has created that looks at our annual report data over a period of time. And so we can look at that data and see over the last several years what improvements have been made.
And I don't want to be misinterpreted here, Mr. Chairman. I understand the value of the program, but I do think that if it's an anti-poverty initiative, that after 45 years, we should have some kind of valid, reliable information that says we have less poverty or we have more poverty. And if we have more poverty, then we need to reevaluate whether this program is serving its purposes or not, as we do with all of our programs. And I'll yield to other members.
Thank you. Thank you.
If I can just add one piece about that, and Chairman, I appreciate the shout out you gave us on our RCTs and our TANF Opportunity Act pilots that are rolling out right now. We do have some data on our website, not to your direct question, but showing county specific poverty data in Tennessee. It is available on our website now. They just went live there. The data dashboards, you can find them through our TANF Families First program, and they're on a drop down there. And that does give some more specific information on Tennessee. We worked with the Institute and MEF, which is our research partner, to publish that data and validate that data. So I hear you 100%. We're working towards that goal.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Campbell has a question.
Okay. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Watson.
I'm sorry, but I don't want this moment for members to pass to think on this. I mean, we're coming into session next year. We're going to have a lot of conversation, I suspect, about continued conversation about affordable housing. We're going to have a continued conversation about whether there's adequate wage payment, income in our state, the degree of homelessness in our state. All of those things circle around the issue of, in many instances, poverty. And I realize this is a federal program, but they're evaluating all that as well, as they should be. And we should at least know whether a 45-year-old program has made progress in our fight against poverty, or if it hasn't. And if it hasn't, then we need to be honest about that. If it has, then we need to celebrate those results.
Thank you. Representative Dixie.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't really have a question, but more of a statement that I think that I appreciate the information you've given, but it's hard for one particular program to make a dent in poverty. And I think that with other programs in conjunction with what's going on is what we need to evaluate as a whole, because it's very hard to say this particular program is really impacting poverty when it's more than one cause of poverty. And there's a huge circle or a environment that causes people to fall into poverty. So it's different solutions to get them out of poverty. And this is maybe just one piece that could help some people, but not all. But I definitely would love to say that it's very helpful and it's getting people out of poverty. But I think this could play a part in it. Then you have TANF, and then you have some other particular programs that can help. But we do need to be more efficient in how we deliver them and its efficacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was just going to say, if you give us that information, it'd be great if it could be a multi-factor regressive analysis so that you're actually including all of the other factors that, contribute to that, because what a complicated thing to try to assess. So it's obviously not going to be a linear, the answer will be linear, but that's obviously not going to be indicative of the other factors that played into the outcome. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions before I ask a question? Seeing none, Senator Watson brought up a good point. And just as a baseline, basic comparison is we have enough years for this program has run that I would hope that you could say, okay, every 5-year interval, 81 is started, 86, this was the poverty level in each county or each district that you have. And then 91 and 96, just give us a 5-year increment. This was the poverty level in all these, and we can see over a trend and compare it with other data that we might have with what's going on in the economy and everything else. Did the poverty level out? Did it increase, decrease? What caused it during that time period to do it? I would hope that the state has kept some kind of data on what our poverty level is when we started, and not do it every year, but just every 5 years, and then give that information to us so we can see what has happened, and more importantly, why it's happened. And if we've improved, then great. And if it's not, then we need to reevaluate, as Senator Watson, Chairman Watson pointed out. Any other comments or questions? Last piece of business is our next meeting is Wednesday, August the 13th at 10 o'clock here in this meeting room. If no objections, hear a motion to adjourn. Have 2 or 3 motions. Thank you. We're adjourned.
We did it in